welcome back to Project Independence and You Community Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Kristina Liu, your producer / your host for today. I'm co-hosting with Otto Los, and we had our first hour of today's show was really wonderful with Vinnie Drecke from Cornell Cooperative Extension, Nassau County, talking about all things horticulture and indoor gardening and outdoor gardening. And we got a lot of great golden nuggets. I mean, I have a piece of paper with so many words that I'm going to have to make sense of after this segment. So if anybody missed that, you could certainly check out our first hour on North Hempstead TV or on our YouTube channel as well. So
I have been on their website, by the way, and they do have a tremendous amount of information.
It's very clear. It's a very clear, and that goes for, the horticulture stuff. I go on there for nutrition stuff as well.
Yes.
But in preparation for today's interview, I actually was on there, and there was really, a whole host of different information on stuff. So Otto, we're going to have to now put these things into practice that we learned and give updates on our things. I'm really excited. I need to see pictures of your tomatoes. I'm very intrigued by all of this.
Hey, I've got flowers on them already.
Cool. Look at you.
Yeah.
See, if anyone could do it,
you. All three plants.
Yeah. But, that's something very difficult. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I know so many people. I feel like that's a very popular vegetable to grow is, tomatoes. And it is something, you constantly hear people with their up and down stories of, growing tomatoes. So it's, I think we got a lot of great information, during the pandemic, when it was hard to get, vegetables and fresh produce, me and my husband, we had bought this thing and it was from Australia. It was some kind of thing and it was called a veggie pod. And it was a very cool, we still have it. We have to get back into it, of course, because our lives happened and that kind of fell by the wayside. But it was really cool because it was not super cumbersome and it was high. It was a high up thing. So it protected it. Because that's what I like also about the raised situation, because you're protecting your stuff from critters, which is nice. And this veggie pod, it comes with this netted covering. And it was great. We were growing all kinds of things. We had a whole bunch, and that was our first dabble into vegetable growing. So we didn't know, we were just throwing seeds in and stuff, but it was really just so many things. We had zucchinis and carrots. There was a whole bunch of stuff that was growing in there. So there
How
really
big was
are
this box?
It was there was a variety of sizes, so you could even get smaller. We had the mid-size one, so it was probably maybe 2 feet, I'd say.
And you grew all those different kinds of vegetables?
Yeah, definitely, but it was too much stuff. That was the moral of the story. We put way, because we didn't know what we were doing. We were just hoping something would take or whatever. But
I did that with peppers last year.
Oh.
I had a red pepper plant and the peppers never got red. And finally, after months, I got one red pepper out of the whole thing.
And did you put in a special container and just save it?
No, I didn't even eat it. It didn't look good.
No, but it is something, and I remember my grandma, my dad's mom, grew a lot of vegetables, and she was the queen of growing cucumbers. I just remember as a little girl, it was just endless amount of cucumbers that I would always have, because she was always growing them. And and I loved that the backstory of our first guest, Vinny, and how he kind of got into this world, which is always my favorite. I'm so glad you asked that question, Otto, because I'm always interested into how people kind of got, because clearly he's passionate about it and he's invested in it. And I just think it was really, and what I also was thinking about is, what it really showcased me is just how cool Long Island is. It's really, we've mentioned this before, because it's you have so many different kind of backdrops, when you go out east, it's you don't feel you feel like you just went on vacation somewhere. Granted, you've been in traffic for a bazillion hours, but it's just so nice that you go out there and you see all this farmland and different things that are growing. And I definitely want to check out, I think the farmer's market, that's a great, I didn't realize that was every Saturday over there, and that's quite close to me. So I'm definitely gonna have to check that out too. So great information. Another reason to, it's a fun little hobby, to get involved in. So I will have all the information that he gave us all the phone numbers and locations up at the end of this video if you're watching the video. If you missed any of those phone numbers, you could always call 311 or 516-869-6311, and I will be happy to get you any of that information. So
It doesn't have to be an expensive hobby either. I had a friend of mine who all his tomatoes, he would grow. I don't know how you do it, but I'm
mhm,
just going to say what he
mhm,
did.
mhm,
He took seeds over the winter
mhm.
and developed plants.
Yep.
So he never bought a plant.
But look what I mean on our first guest, he said, which I mean, I've over the years, I've gotten better, but when I started out in my house plant craze, there was a lot of house plants that RIP to those house plants. But that I was constantly just buying things. But I love that he said that his grandma was like making house plants, growing her own house plants, which was just so cool. So there
African
really are,
violets.
yeah,
African violets. Yeah.
which is a beautiful and incredibly beautiful plant. So
Yeah.
just really cool stuff, and I like that. And like, listen, and seeds, I mean, are very cheap. Like that's the one thing you could still get that's pretty cheap out
Yeah.
there. Of course, you got to have like the soils and all those things, but I really recommend those raised container boxes because if and those can be all different sizes too, and I really have seen the benefits of that for people. And then they're just come as kits now. It's not like anything super complicated by any means, but it's a great way for those people because I remember with my own grandparents, that would garden, it got hard there, to constantly be, bending down and doing that. Like that takes a toll on you. But this, you were able to still, partake in it, but it was just raised up, which is so there's
Well, people, when people get older, they may kneel down, but then getting back up again is another story.
of course it's not easy, and that's for anyone. It's not always that easy. I know for my own husband who's constantly planting things.
Now
It's
you could do one of those on the driveway, let's say. You don't
Mhm,
have to do it in the middle of the garden. It could
absolutely.
be
That's what's great because you could put it
on
anywhere.
concrete.
Right. No, and I'm glad you asked that question because I think a lot of people are hesitant because they think, oh, I don't have like a big backyard to do all these things, but there are little things, the fact that you could have a little container thing on your little balcony, or if you're in an apartment or like a little pet, whatever it is, he even said like on a step or something, so there's such a range of different things you can do. So I encourage people to kind of like try it out, and it is benefits because it does make you feel good, and
Yeah, my 3 plants. I like to look at them.
yeah, you do, and you feel accomplished, when it works out, you're like, I did this, like great, and I know that with my own house plants, like when one's looking really like bountiful and like I'm like, all right, cool, like I'm doing something right with this plant. So
They're the only tomatoes I eat during the year. The ones that come off of those plants,
I like that.
because most of the ones you get in the store, I'm not going to knock all
Mhm.
stores, but a lot of them are really tasteless.
Yeah,
You know, they
but
don't have
it's
any.
it's so funny you said that because my mom always says that, and she just feels that way about like a lot of things, that
Oh
it's
yeah,
they don't quite capture the taste that they once had, and that it's even with certain fruits and stuff too.
all of them.
Yeah,
Blueberries.
yeah,
Blueberries
that's
used to make your mouth blue
that's
when
exactly what
you
my
ate
mom said.
blueberries.
Mhm.
All right, they don't make your mouth blue
Yeah.
anymore. And strawberries,
Hmm.
they used to taste really sweet, and uh, that
But that's what I
I
think
don't
is
know
nice
why.
about going to these kind of farmers markets because chances are you are going to get
More
something that's
fresh,
right.
better,
So
hopefully.
we'll give it a go. We'll have to
Yeah,
try it out, Otto. We'll have
yeah,
to
yeah.
see. But great segment. Once again, if you've ever missed any of our shows, please, you could catch them on North Hempstead TV, or you can catch them on the WCWP YouTube page or on the Project Independence page. We have all of our shows archived because there's just a lot of great information. So definitely check that out. Otto, we missed you last week. We had on Metro PC was on. PT, excuse me, not Metro PC. Metro PT was on talking about just different kind of fall prevention stuff and these dual activities, which Rebecca and I were saying, Otto, you would have really loved the conversation because she was talking about the benefits of dual task activities for people and how you can kind of do that at home and how that really keeps your brain going. And I said, this is definitely something that Otto would be quite into. Uh,
Dual task.
Yep, dual task. Yeah, so it's essentially and I encourage everyone to definitely listen to that because she, will do it more justice than I will. But it's essentially, you could do it at home, have a ball, right? And the ball can have A, B, C, D, in different areas, and you could toss the ball or kick the ball, whatever your kind of mobility is. Pick it up, and then, as you're catching it, it'll say A. So it's name a state, that starts with an A. So you'll be Alabama. So it's your brain is doing two things at one time. So it's catching a ball and saying, okay, here's a state. So your brain, it's to teach your brain to think of two things at the same time. And obviously, if you have more mobility, you'd be standing. They do exercises with people, to do, all different things. But she would say it could, whatever it is, if you can't, there's all kinds of ways to tweak these dual task things, and that's what they do over there. But she said you can do them at home, or she was even saying with your grandchildren or something. You make it kind of a fun activity. So it was a great interview, and it makes sense. When she was talking about it, like how that would really be beneficial to someone. So dual task activities, definitely check that out. It's our new buzzword. Next week we have on the show Jeff Stone and Ellen Ritz, who are with Project Help. Project Help Long Island is really dedicated to doing education and awareness on mental health and addiction. They both are very involved with the town, has a substance misuse committee that they are involved with. So we're going to have them on and just hear about kind of their different things that they're doing in the
I'm
community.
going to have to miss that one too. We're going
I
to
know.
my granddaughter's wedding in North Carolina.
That's so nice.
3 days in North Carolina for the wedding.
That's so cool.
with
I'm very
with the whole
jealous.
family is going to be there, so it'd be good. It'd be really good.
That's so nice. What
And
part of
here's a
North
little
Carolina?
side story.
Yes, give me a side story.
Well, the grandmother, this granddaughter is I guess you could call her a step granddaughter, all right, but she's
Okay.
really not. We don't look at stuff like that. She's
Mhm.
really our granddaughter. But it turns out that through accident, I found out that her grandmother and I worked together about 50 or 60 years ago. Her grandmother actually worked for me. She was the office manager when I was the manager of an office out here on Long Island.
Wow, that's
And we're going to see each other for the first time in almost 60 years
wow.
at
Oh,
this
that's
wedding,
cool.
you
Wow,
know.
that's so
So that's
nice.
really, and her husband who's gone, I knew him. He used to work for the same company. Um, and so it's going to be multi-dimensional.
How did you guys even come to this realization?
Well, her brother, the future, my grandson, uh, was golfing with his grandfather down there, and Grandpa Don, he called him, and he talked to Grandpa Don while they were at a driving range about golf. And he says, "Oh, my grandpa Otto also golfs." And he says, "Otto," he said, "I knew an Otto." And he said, "What's his last name?" And he says, "I knew him. We used to work together." So it turns out that through that, then all of a sudden we identified that we all work together. This
Wow.
fishing thing I go on, he used to go there 60 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like, oh my God. And we've exchanged emails and
Right.
whatnot, but obviously we really haven't met, but we're going to see
Yeah.
each other next week
That is
at the
so
wedding.
cool.
You know, God bless you. You're
Um,
muted. I know
what
you're
part?
muted.
Yes, I you like that? I was able to time that perfectly so I didn't blow out the eardrums with my sneeze. So what part of North Carolina will you be traveling to?
It's near Greensboro. I'm not
Okay.
really sure the exact town name, but it's like 20 minutes or so from there.
Does your grandson live out there?
No, the granddaughter lives there. He was there at that point. It's a blended family.
Hmm. Hmm.
And at one point, he was living down there with his mother. And then he lived here for a long time with our daughter, Jenny, and her husband, Bill, who was
Hmm.
the father
Yes.
of these two. It's two kids
Hmm.
involved. Uh, and his daughter is the one who's getting married. And, they call us grandma and grandpa,
Yeah,
and
of course.
they're our
Hmm.
grandchildren also. We've known them since they're like 5 or 6 years old. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's right. Oh, that's really nice though. I love. I'm a big fan of North
but
Carolina.
anyhow, that's why I won't be here next Friday.
I know. He look at you were in Pennsylvania, I believe, last week. Is that where
I
you were
was in
last?
Pennsylvania to actually see my grandson play baseball,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, it got rained out. but
Oh,
but we had a good time anyhow.
okay.
We
There you
played
go.
Yahtzee.
There you go. Make the most of it. I like that. It's always fun little getaway anyway.
Yeah,
So
but it was good. We had a good time.
good. Well, we will miss you next week, obviously, Otto, but
Yeah, and I
thanks.
know Jeff
Yes,
Stone. Yeah,
absolutely.
he's
So
been around for a
I
long
will give
time.
you the rundown, and you also can tune in and you can watch it on North Hempstead TV, or you can watch it on our YouTube channel, Otto.
There you
So
go.
you won't miss it. You won't miss a beat. Um, Also coming up, we're going to be having the latest tips on frauds and scams, including artificial intelligence. So I'm certainly think that's going to be an important topic that we will be going over. So that's to come too. I'm also working on scheduling Family and Children's Association, which has a lot of programs in the community. So a couple of them might come on and talk about their different programs. So we might have like a big panel kind of show with all their services. And then Northwell Health had reached out that we might have someone come on to talk about back pain, which I think we all can certainly relate to. So yeah, there's just a lot of topics that will be coming up, and I just encourage people, if you ever have a guest or a topic that you are interested in, please call 311 and I'll be happy to reach out. And on that note, we have to take a quick break. This is Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We are fully in our Talk of the Town segment, talking about all things town related. And I just want to remind people, once again, if you ever miss anything, please, please, please go to our Project Independence website. You just click on the radio show link and you will get right to our page with all the different episodes we've had throughout the years. And you could also go to our WCWP YouTube page and check out all the videos as well there. And you can watch us on North Hempstead TV as well. So please catch up on all things that we've been doing here. I just want to remind people that June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And of course, it's really important to keep your brain sharp. Last week's show, as we had mentioned, we did a lot of talk about that. So if you are interested in receiving our email newsletter, you can call 311 as well, and I can have you added to it, because we had a really wonderful article in our June issue that had all kinds of different tips about that, and I would be happy to send it to you. Or if you do not have email, I'd be more than happy to do a mail out of a hard copy. So please just call 311. Otto, you are back with us. Hello, my friend.
I am back with you. Yes, I had to.
That's
Publishers
okay.
Clearinghouse is
He's a
always
busy
full.
man, you just can't stop Otto. He's all over the place at all times.
You
But
know, you
Otto,
mentioned scams
yes,
before the
yes,
break, all
scams.
right? And it's still amazing how many people are, even the grandson and granddaughter scam. People getting called, and my grandson, got into a bad accident, send me $10,000, whatever. And that's one that we should have gotten enough people educated on now,
Mhm.
that it shouldn't happen again. But there's another one that keeps cropping up that it, it is comes, and my wife almost got hit with this the other day.
Mhm.
Luckily, she checked with me. Um, but it's this thing where you get an email and it says, "Oh, you got two packages. We need to.
Yep.
We're waiting to deliver to you." And she said to me, "Oh, I'm expecting shoes."
Hmm.
Uh, you know, uh, I said no. And you look at the email address, and it's some weird, stupid address,
Yep.
and they make it look like it's UPS, the post office, FedEx, and it's not them.
Nope.
It's not them.
I
It's
get
somebody
that
who
so
wants
often.
your credit card information
Hmm.
so they can put a charge through
Yeah.
and rip you off completely.
No, because and like I can't even begin to tell you because I not only get that via email, I also get the text messages
Exactly.
that say too, oh, your package is being, suspended or it's delayed. And listen, most of us do order things online and are waiting for packages. So it's not that far fetched, especially listen, especially in my life, I'm always awaiting for some kind of package. But it is, and it startles you at first because you're like, wait, what? But it's luckily now I am like clued into it. And the great point, which is always a rule of thumb, I encourage people because it gets a little tricky with the text messaging because when you do get these texts, a lot of times they are weird numbers, like, and those are legitimate ones. So I understand that does get tricky, but still do not fall for it. But the emails, even if it says to you, like the name will say UPS, for example. But if you click, you always really need to click on it to see, because when you do click on it, it's usually like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it's like a whole jumble
The
of,
address, the
right,
email address.
like the email address itself. So, you can't take it, but they're banking on people not necessarily being that tech savvy and things, and you say, okay, this is UPS, that's sent to me. And they could add the logo of UPS and all these things, to make you really believe that, but that is certainly a common thing. And the best thing you can do is to check the tracking or call the company that directly that you have, ordered, because I can't tell you how often I get those messages.
Yeah, and I had to talk to my wife, and she said,
Yeah.
"But I'm expecting these shoes,
Yeah.
and I didn't get them yet." I said, "No,
Yeah.
it's not the." And then I showed her the email address. It was
Hmm.
some weird address
Yeah,
that
because
has
it's
zero.
always like a jumbled, like
Yeah, because they
nonsensical.
don't want it to be tracked.
Right.
You know.
No,
Uh,
but that's why I'm really, and that the show that our Scam Talk will air will be on June 23rd. And on top of obviously talking about the AI kind of stuff, we're going to talk about all kinds of different scams that are, kind of going on. And it's just it's really something, unfortunately, that we just have to constantly be aware of. It's not going anywhere.
have you
Um,
gone to the AI site yet?
I have
Chat
not.
GP. It's on my to-do list. I'm
Hmm.
going to do it. So on the show here, we can. I'm going to find out what's involved.
Yeah.
To enroll.
Yeah, and you can certainly and tell us about it. And what I thought was great too, I always, in our building, Clinton G. Martin Park in New Hyde Park, you can come visit us anytime, obviously. But we have a table out there that has a lot of great resources, and we put stuff out there. And then one of the senior groups that meets at our building had some pop-up police officers come in to talk about scams. So they had this great little thing I grabbed to talk about on the radio. And it was just elderly victims targeted phone scams. Nassau County residents are being financially targeted by individuals who are making false statements on the phone. Callers attempt to manipulate recipients into sending them money by pretending to be legitimate entities, which is what we were kind of talking about. And obviously, the popular ones that are happening are these kidnapped or arrested family members. And they're just reminding you, legitimate agencies and companies will never ask you to send money via gift cards or iTunes cards. And which was very interesting, it says in parentheses, specifically Home Depot gift cards, which I
Yeah,
thought was
that
random.
seems to be a popular.
That's such, I wonder what that's about. I don't know. I'm
That's
not
a good
total.
question.
Yeah.
Maybe they're easier to make use of.
Yeah.
Um,
I just thought that was
or
interesting. But I really,
maybe
when I
they.
read that, I was like, I want to share this because that's the first I ever heard of something like that with the Home Depot
Yeah, that's
thing.
an interesting point. Why that one?
Yeah, but the police department saying if this, does happen to you, you can always call them at 911, obviously, to report that, because the best thing to possibly do is to report it as soon as possible, and just to get the word out there. So just a little, keep your eyes peeled situation, your eyes and ears peeled.
Yeah, I was out of the room when you talked about Alzheimer's.
Yes, because
That's
June, yes, is
unfortunately a topic that impacts many families, um, and it's a tough one. So
yeah,
that
and it's there's a whole bunch of, but this month in particular is Alzheimer's and brain awareness month. And our June 14th, we have which is next week already, which is just time is just
yeah.
flying. is our Project Independence Joint Advisory Committee meeting. We meet at Clinton G. Martin Park, but it is also virtual still. The meeting is at 10 a.m. and we're going to have a speaker, Melissa Katz, who is the Senior Director of Programs and Services over at the Long Island Alzheimer's and Dementia Center. She's going to talk about this and more specifically, healthy living for your brain and body.
Is that the Alzheimer's Association or what organization?
This one is the Long Island Alzheimer's and Dementia Center. So it's like LICAD is this one. Yeah. I believe that's what it is. But so she will be on at our advisory to talk about things. I love that spin of the healthy living for your brain and body, because there are a lot of things that you can proactively do to keep your brain sharp. A lot of things that you can eat, certain foods and stuff that just keep you kind of healthy, because all these things tie into one another. So that will be at our meeting. And on top of that, our advisory committees are a great place to talk about what's going on in your community or things that are happening. It came up, I guess it was last advisory, about these AI scams. So on top of talking with you, Otto, that's when I was like, we got to have this topic on the radio. So we get a lot of our great information. I mean, our radio show was birthed because of an advisory committee. So please come and join us. It's a great place to get it. And this is the last one until September. So we take a little summer break. So it's even more reason to come to get all this great information. So
once again, don't really take a break, because then you got Fun Day Monday in the summer.
That's right. That's right. So it's just a kind of shift.
Yeah.
It's just a shift in things. But so please come and join us. I also want to just touch upon some other great programs that are going on within Project Independence. We have our social discussion group, which meets on Thursdays. And now that is solely a virtual program. The group just chooses to only meet virtually. And that's at 10:30 a.m. So if you're interested in that, obviously you call 311. We have a new group too called Healing After Loss Support Group. This is facilitated by Gina, who is one of our social workers. And it's all about grief being a natural response to loss, the emotional suffering you feel when something or someone you love is taken away. This group will discuss the 5 different stages of grief and just kind of how to ease the healing process. This is on Thursdays, and it meets at Magnolia Gardens, which is over in Westbury, at 11:30 a.m. So if you feel like this group could help you, please join that. We also have a Golden Hearts bingo and blood pressure screening program that meets over at the Roslyn Community Center on Thursdays. That's at 12 p.m. We have our men's group, which meets at the Hillside Public Library, which is quite the lively group. I've had the pleasure of facilitating, because they also meet virtually as well. So I was helping on the virtual end of things. And I was so impressed by that group. This was a couple of weeks ago, because they all have quite the variety of beliefs. And it was just nice, because even though everyone really feels different about stuff, everyone let each other speak, which is quite rare. So in facilitating this, I was like, wow, this is like, like seeing a unicorn or something. It was so impressive, and they all kind of just had an actual discussion, even though, and I'm telling you, everyone has very, very different beliefs. It was great. It was a great group.
In line with what you said, I got pretty ticked off actually with a group when we were all together, and it was politics, all right, which I'm anti to doing that, because it's gotten to the point where it's never a conversation. No. It's one person giving you a lecture about why it should be their way. And after a while, a couple of years of this has been going on. Yeah. After a while, I said, that's enough of this. I said, I mean, what's the point here? You believe what you believe. He believes what he believes. You're never going to change your mind. Yeah. Why do we have to aggravate everybody else?
I know.
Who's sitting here?
I hear you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
this group was impressive.
I get it. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. That's a problem. People don't want to. They just want to,
I know. I mean, but, I said, they said, well, you got to be able to talk about it. I said, what is talk? Having a conversation where you can honestly talk and listen to each other is one thing. But when you're going to just pontificate and give me your views for a half an hour, and
Yeah,
I'm not saying I'm
I
not going
know.
to change your mind.
No.
So why are we aggravating each other?
You know what it is?
It's
Listen, I know for myself, the best conversations I've ever had with other people is just, and this is about not just just about life in general, just people with different viewpoints. It doesn't always have to be, a political discussion, and I think when you go into it open-minded and willing to just like listen and listen, no one's saying you have to agree with everything they say, but sometimes I have a conversation with someone and it makes me look at something a different way. It's
yeah, and
it's
that's
a different
healthy.
point of view and say, I didn't ever think of it from that angle. Like everyone has different life experiences, and that's why I love this show and talking to different people, because you're able to kind of open your brain up to things that you might not have, always thought about. So it's just
Yeah,
my
for whatever reason, the politics has just gone, you just can't talk about politics,
yeah,
you know.
it's
Uh,
just
so I choose not to. I'm nice about it.
there's so many other fun things to talk about,
Yeah, like
I'm
how
with you.
far is the sun from the earth?
Right. I mean, we talked about gardening and we still have questions, I mean, there's so many like positive things that we could really be talking about. But anyway, if you are interested in talking about, and actually, if you are a man in North Hempstead who, you know, and don't be afraid, you're able to voice it and everyone listened. It's really a wonderful group.
Do
So
they talk politics?
oh yes.
Yeah.
And it was
Okay.
impressed. That's why I was impressed, because everyone just let each other talk, even though they had very, very different opinions, which was just a lovely
That's a
thing
good thing.
to say. It was a cool thing to say. So shout out to Project Independence and Krista, our social worker who facilitates that group, because she does a wonderful job facilitating. Also, we have another coping with loss support group, and that's facilitated by Krista, and that meets at the Hillside Public Library. It's very interesting. Both these groups came out because a lot of seniors were calling about this. So our social workers were dealing with people who really were struggling with this, and I think all of us certainly have experienced so much loss in the past couple of years, especially, and it's just, and on top, and that's lost in so many different things. Krista's group is really focused on kind of like losing a spouse or a family member, and Gina's is more, just about kind of grief in general stuff. So it depends on which one works for you and which one you feel comfortable in. But I always encourage people to join these support groups, because I know for my own self, the feeling of not feeling alone, and saying, okay, like, I mean, listen, we all have these crazy thoughts. And when you hear someone else, has it, you're like, okay, it's not just me, and that in itself is a very comforting feeling, and to share stories and just different ways and treatments and therapies to get over certain things is really beneficial. So
Sometimes you just need to get something off your chest.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think about, and I said, because we were talking about this last week, and I was saying, when you, me, John, and Dan, were in the middle of the pandemic, and we were in lockdown and everything was so uncertain, and there was new information every day, having this show every Friday with you guys certainly helped me, get through it. And we were just
Me
voicing
too.
like we were just voicing like what was going on in our heads, like, oh my God, this is what's happening today. And it was very like scary, but it gave us a place to kind of all come together and just get that out, and you're so right, to get it off your chest
Mm.
is, the number one thing. So I encourage people to.
In the people world, talking from my own life
Mhm,
experience, I think we go through things, and I think this is true with couples and
mhm,
individuals.
mhm,
You go through things there every day,
mhm.
all right? And you may not get worked over that one thing that day, but there's like an accumulation, I think is
The
how it works.
snowball effect, yes.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
uh, why are you using that pen?
Hmm.
That becomes a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was all these other things that
Yep.
kind of crept in there.
No, you're
And,
so right.
and it's like a buildup. And
It
all of a
is.
sudden, our body says, that's it.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it's so true, and I certainly, as I get older, I see that more and more with different people that my husband, listen, I've been with my husband since I was 17 years old. So we have a very deep foundation with a lot of people that we essentially grew up with, but a lot of my friends, are having issues, in their relationships or in life in general, and it's, you see it, and so much of it is, as you said, is not communicating and getting things out, so you're just kind of festering, and then, as you said, the littlest thing kind of just, and you're like, wait, what? Like, what just happened there, So and that's why I always laugh at my friends. I say, listen, I'm an open book. I will like fully voice, all kinds of my feelings and nerves.
That word, by the way, is a great word,
Yeah.
festering, because that's what it is. It's like you're accumulating a little bit. You're rolling down the hill,
And
and
then
you're
boom.
picking up a little bit of stuff.
and
And then
then
you
an
get to the
explosion.
bottom of the hill, and you got this big ball.
That's right. So just
that has
talk.
a
But
lot of
Otto, we
stuff.
are speaking of festering. We are going to burst into a break. This is Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio here on 80.1 FM and WCWP.com. We are coming back with our last segment. Can't believe it's here.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios Podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
And welcome back to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We are in the Talk of the Town segment at our last segment. Today's show is just flying by because I've had a lot to catch up with Otto. I feel like we missed a week. We have a lot of stuff that's going on in the town that we need to go over. And I just want to announce some things that are also going on within the town. Assemblywoman Gina Saletti is doing Don't Fall for Fraud, helping our seniors spot the scam. This is in conjunction with New York State Attorney General Letitia James's office. TJ Hatter, who we've actually had on the show a bunch of times, is from the Attorney General's office, is going to discuss how to protect yourself and what to do if you fall victim. So the next one that's coming up is Wednesday, June 14th at 1 p.m. This is going to be in partnership with Councilwoman Veronica Lurvy, and it's at the Great Neck Social Center at 80 Grace Avenue. So you can call 311 for more information on that. But I'm really...
a point by the way, on that I thought about. The advisory committee's meeting is also June 14th.
Yes.
At 10 a.m., right?
Yes.
Usually ends like 11:30.
Yep.
So you're going to go have yourself a nice little lunch.
Yep, and shoot right over there.
And then shoot right over to the STEM meeting.
And you could just walk away with just so much information and just be really prepared for the rest of the week. So I like that, Otto. I like that plan. I think that's a solid plan. That's great. A full day of learning.
Yes.
Which is also great. The town is doing. A couple of weeks ago, we had a wonderful speaker who came on to talk about skin health and protecting your skin and whatnot. And it's something that I'm really trying to do even more as I get older, because it's when we were young, we always say, Otto, we do kind of reckless things.
Young and dumb.
We're not really thinking about the consequences of it. And even when you're older, listen, there are so many times that I'm not anticipating being outdoors long, or I'm just talking in the backyard. Listen, I have a lovely backyard, and I'll be sitting there with my mom, and we'll just be, drinking a cup of coffee and talking. And before you know it, you realize you've just been sitting in the sun that you didn't think was that strong, but now you have a burn. So it's really things that you need to be super aware of. So we had a great segment on that. And also the Town of North Hempstead, in partnership with North Shore University Hospital and Long Island Jewish Medical Center, are presenting these Wellness Wednesdays. The first one is July 12th, and it's a free skin cancer screening. It's going to be at Clinton G. Martin Park over at New Hyde Park from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., which I thought is so wonderful. And also in conjunction with this, all different town parks, there's so many different ones, have these little dispensers now of sunscreen. So I think it's like a SPF 30 that is there. So if you forget it, you're able to, pump it right on. and go on your way. But I really think it's great the town is doing this. And then other topics that are coming up on top of this, July 19th is a Saving Lives training, which is learning CPR, stopping the bleed, and more. That's at Whitney Pond Park Pool. On July 26th is healthy eating for the family. That's at the Yes We Can Community Center. On August 2nd is meditation on the beach at North Hempstead Beach Park. August 9th is another skin cancer screening at Manor Haven Beach Park. And August 16th is Every Stage of Life cancer screenings. It's an informational session. That's going to be at Clinton G. Martin Park. So many different topics. We'll obviously be promoting them as they come up, but I think it's really great that the town is getting involved in these Wellness Wednesdays. So definitely check that out. Otto, you had mentioned earlier about Fun Day Monday. So that's going to kick off at North Hempstead Beach Park, which is in Port Washington. It's every Monday. It starts at like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., even a little earlier, around like 9 for the exercise classes. But it starts on July 10th, which is really great. So on top of all these great little productions, they're going to have like a Beatles tribute band. There's an Elvis one day. There's a Dance Aloha. There's a Rat Pack tribute. Of course, the health fair on July 24th is always really, really informational. And my personal favorite is the August 21st one, which is the last one, but it's always a Hometown USA Salute to the Troops one, which is just, and that's got what the end. I love the vintage car show. That's always my favorite, is to see these amazing vintage cars. And on top of that, there's pickleball, line dancing, Tai Chi. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff going on. You can call to get the schedule for that.
Is parking free?
Parking is free, yes. At Fun Day Monday, parking
Okay.
is free, which
Because
is
I just
great.
bought my season parking for 25
Yes,
bucks.
but for
so-
Mondays, for
Yeah.
this event, you do not need to pay for parking.
Okay.
And there's also, if you do not drive, there's a great bus pickup schedule. It's a whole bunch of different locations throughout North Hempstead. Every region has a bunch of different stops. So you can call 311 to get the full schedule for that as well. So, and if it rains on Monday, it's the following Thursday. And not even if it just rains. I also want to remind people, if it's extremely hot, which happened last year, the heat index was crazy a couple of days, they had to cancel it. So it's always best to check with 311 if the weather seems a little iffy, just before you schlep down there. Because speaking of weather, we're in a crazy cycle this week that kind of came out of nowhere with these Canadian wildfires and the smoke. I was like saying during the break too, my allergies, it certainly affected that out of nowhere. And I wasn't even particularly outside that long. But it was it was just to add to, I said at work, I said, just let's add it to the list of weird things that have occurred that you really just can't, and you're like, what just happened here, but hopefully we're kind of approaching, it looks a little clearer outside today. But it was scary. It was one of those situations that you really, it was the first time in my life I could remember like being so impacted. And then especially when everything turned yellow and I was like, what am I, we immediately had to whip out the masks,
I
again.
was in Greenport playing golf.
Oh my gosh.
And that day,
Mhm.
and I got multiple phone calls from family members, get in, but
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad out there as I saw
Interesting.
on TV
Mhm.
in toward the
Yeah.
city.
Well, that's what it was, because
But it was still
even
weird. The
it was
sky,
weird.
there were no clouds,
Mhm.
so theoretically it was a clear blue sky.
Right.
And the sun was like an orange dot
Mhm.
trying to fight its way from 92
Yeah.
million miles away
Mhm.
through the cloud or
Yeah.
the smog. So it
Yeah.
was really weird. It really was weird.
It was just one of those, like, because my husband's like, that's it, you got to come home, and it was because you didn't know what was it was like one of these like how long is this gonna last? We immediately had all the windows shut because we're like an open window kind of house, and it was like shut all the windows and then put the air purifiers on. It was just a weird, it felt like a weird fever dream.
It was
But
weird.
hopefully we are gonna be okay, coming up. So hopefully this weekend's a little clearer. But needless to say, also coming up are a lot of free summer events that the North Hempstead does. And these are, of course, the concerts and the movies. So the first one is June 21st, is a skate demo at Manor Haven Beach Park from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. I believe that's at the skate park, so that's really good if you have grandkids. They can come and check that out. Then there's Shakespeare in the Park, June 24th at Clark Botanic Garden. That's at 6 p.m. There's Wednesday movies in the park. Those kick off in July. There's a whole bunch of movies. And of course, there's a lot of great different concerts that are coming up too. And there's yoga. I mean, there are so many different things North Hempstead is doing. There's this great flyer they have. So if you are interested in receiving this, or if you come to our advisory meeting, I will have this in everyone's packet as well to check out. So we always say you can't be bored in North Hempstead over the summer because there's a lot going on. So definitely check that out as well. And then, what I also thought was really in lieu of our stuff that we were talking about, the North Hempstead proclaims Pollinator Week 2023, and that's going to kick off June 19th to June 24th as Pollinator Week in the North as Pollinator Week in Town of North Hempstead. Pollinator Week is an annual celebration in support of pollinator health that was initiated by the Pollinator Partnership. It is time to raise awareness for pollinators and spread the word about what we can do to protect them. The town continues to take action to conserve local pollinator species through National Wildlife Mayor's Monarch Pledge. This was a great thing that they started a couple years back, was this Monarch Butterfly Pledge. And it was great because they really got a lot of school-age children involved. I even had little packets that I gave my nieces and nephews, and it was these great little things to grow, things that, are good for, and that's what I always say too about the gardening, is that it's not just pretty to look at or good for you. Like, it really benefits the whole ecosystem of things. So I think it's really cool that North Hempstead is getting involved in this, and they're incentivizing the use of native plants, which are obviously vital to these pollinators. North Hempstead is once again proud to offer the residential native rebate program, where residents can receive a rebate of up to $350 for planting native plants in their home landscape. Native pollinators and wildlife have evolved with these plants that provide food, shelter, and other resources that they need to survive. So you can call 311 to get more information about that. But I think it's really cool that North Hempstead's doing this again. So
North Hempstead is really very good at nature, environment.
yes.
I don't think there's any word of it this year, but I got quite a kick out of them using goats
I was thinking the same thing.
to clean up this field of poison ivy,
Yeah.
because goats like to eat poison ivy.
Yeah, there was the goats. We had the goats. We had the bats
right
that
and
were eating.
What were the ones that
There were the birds. What kind of birds were they?
I
That
forget.
were eating the ticks.
Yes.
I can't think of the name of the birds now.
No, me either.
That
But
then we
they
were
had
like,
them out in the
yes.
park.
Right. We were watching. John got such a kick out of it too, because it was like we had it was like a full thing of like watching this kind of thing happen. And I can't think of what the
It'll
word.
come to us eventually, maybe in a month or two.
Yeah, it'll come. But there's such, innovative kind of things that North Hempstead is doing, and I always said that, it's like a full eco-friendly kind of situation, and really thinking outside the box, frankly. I think for a township to kind of think of these interesting ways of and safe ways, which is cool. So
I walk in Tully Park pretty often, and they got major construction going on over there. They're redoing a lot of things, and I'm interested in seeing how it all ends up.
Yeah. So
it's a big park. There's a lot of stuff there.
It's a huge park. It really is, and it was in need of some renovation. So
it was getting a little bit shabby, to be honest about it.
No, and it's a beautiful park, so it's nice, and you could be like our man on the street, Otto. You can give us updates about how it's going over at
well, what's interesting, and I'm going to investigate this. There's tennis courts there, and rather than nets, they have like metal, steel things in the middle, which look like they're going to replace the nets. So I guess that they're more tolerant of weather than nets.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I'm going to dig into that one a little bit.
Yes, because I'm sure there's some kind of pickleball situation involved as well.
Well, there's going to be pickleball there as well, but I don't think these are pickleball. These look like tennis.
Interesting.
And the basketball courts are being redone, and the playground. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, well, You know, North
The
Hempstead
parking
has
lot is
some,
going to be, I think, redone, and that's a big one. That
yes,
parking lot is pretty much of a mess.
yeah. So
Mhm.
you'll have to keep us posted, Otto, on that.
Yeah.
But definitely. And on speaking of parks and pools, North Hempstead, the pools will be reopening on June 17th. It will be starting, and that's obviously there's a whole bunch throughout North Hempstead. The outdoor pool facilities are at Clingy Martin Park, but that's a special park district, so not everyone can go there. You have to live in a certain area. Manor Haven Beach Park, Martin Bunkie Reed Park, and Whitney Pond Park, which is just really great. And I just can't believe we're here already. Like it's still blowing my mind that we're talking about parks opening. Pools opening because it seems so long ago. The pool, there are early bird specials that are happening right now, and I see them firsthand because people are constantly coming into our building thinking that we could help them with the pool, and unfortunately, we are not the pool people. So we have to send them to the pool area. So once again, Clingy Martin Park opens June 17th. Manor Haven Beach Park is also on the 17th. Whitney Pond Park is June 24th. And I think that, and Bunkie Reed is also June 24th. But I just want to have people to check it out because there's all different fees and there's all different discounts depending on if you're a veteran or a senior or if a couple or individual. There's so much information that I could do a whole segment on. But please just call 311 or 516-869-6311 to get all those rates because I encourage you to take advantage of it. You have a lot of nice stuff in North Hempstead to do, so certainly check that out. Which I also love because everyone knows I do love alfresco dining, and Manhasset Alfresco kicks off the summer season. North Hempstead Town Supervisor Jennifer DeSena and Council Member Veronica Lurvy are partnering with the Manhasset Chamber of Commerce to sponsor Manhasset Alfresco, which begun on last week, June 4th. It started. It's going to last until Sunday, September 10th. And Manhasset Alfresco will close portions of Plandom Road for pedestrian traffic only, allowing residents to take advantage of local dining and shopping. There's a whole bunch of different event dates, so you can call 311 for that too, and they have certain parking opportunities as well. So a lot of fun stuff. I love that. That's the best part for me about the warmer months is, getting to be outside and dine outside. And there's so many beautiful places, especially in North Hempstead, to do all of that. And we'll have to announce on it. If you go to any fun little outdoor things this year, we're going to have to announce them right on the radio show and tell people all about it. So.
Well, I would like to. I lived in Manhasset
Yeah.
for like almost 30 years,
Mhm.
and I could have walked to Plandome Road. That would have been a really nice thing.
I know. See, you missed the boat.
Go dine.
Yeah, it's really, I love I think that's so great about Long Island because there's so many outdoor spots to check out, and I like to pop over to all of them no matter what area it is. I will certainly take, so if anyone ever has any suggestions, let us know, because it's something that I would certainly love to do as well. On June 14th, which is a very popular day apparently, also the St. Francis cardiac screening van will be going to Magnolia Gardens, and that's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Once again, you do not need to make an appointment. You just get to show up, which I think is just the best. So that, and then it'll be making its rounds throughout the summer and fall as well. So
Now you're going to have to make a decision. You can't do the three of them in one day.
or I mean, listen, you can get really, it is till 2 p.m. You might be able to.
Well, you can do it in between.
Yes. See? That's right.
Right.
We should just have we could have like a full bus tour taking people around to all these different things. But
Yeah.
what I also love is, speaking of Cornell Cooperative Extension, on Wednesday, June 21st, our partnership with them, they are providing a food safety bingo program over at Magnolia Gardens in Westbury. We've had this topic on the show before, food safety, which is so important. And I learned a lot of information, I remember, from that segment. But this is fun because it's incorporated into bingo. So you're learning a lot about kind of food safety things, but while playing bingo. So it's a good time. It's mixing education and fun together, which is the best. So definitely check that out. ARP's driving course Defensive Driving Course is Saturday, June 17th. If there's a couple of spots left, if it's completely full, there's another one on September 9th. These meet at Clinton G. Martin Park. If you are an ARP member, it's $25. And if you are not a member, it's $30. So great stuff to do.
You can
within
also
North
do that
Hempstead.
online.
Oh, that's right, because I've done it online as well. But Otto, we are at a wrap of the show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, WCWP, for hosting our fabulous show. And we will be back next week. This is Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. And have a great weekend.